Hello and welcome to Multiplicative Marketing. I'm Philip Cohen. Our guest this morning is Rikus Blomerus, the Chief Marketing Officer of WeBuyCars. Rikus, for our listeners, please give us a brief introduction to yourself, your career, and how you got here. Give us a sense of who you are.
Hi, Philip. Yes, thank you for hosting me. Yes, so as you said, Rikus Blomerus, Chief Marketing Officer at WeBuyCars. So I've been with the company for almost 8 years now. In November, it's 8 years. Originally, actually started my career off in human resources, industrial relations, a little bit of IR, a little bit of psychometric testing, so all over a little bit more of a HR generalist. Eventually ended up doing my MBA, and one of my main subjects was marketing, and I also did a consumer-focused study for my thesis. And yeah, I think I always had a passion and a little bit of a neck for marketing. And then at that stage, back in what was that now, 2020, we lost our marketing director, and I had a conversation with our CEO, and he said no, he's got a good candidate to run marketing. And I said, okay, who is it? I assumed as the head of HR at the time, I have to go and recruit the person or whatever. And he said, no, it's actually you. So yes, then did a little bit of a presentation for that current board at that time. And the arrangement was to sort of oversee marketing and run marketing from that point. And then yes, it just never stopped. So it's been more than 5 years now and still going strong, enjoying the marketing portfolio.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rikus. The rise of WeBuyCars is nothing short of miraculous. In 2001, two brothers started their first used cars dealership, started basically from zero in a fragmented market. And as at your last final interim financial results, achieved revenue of 13 billion rand. Additionally, WeBuyCars is the number one in the sector or in the category with regard to buying and selling vehicles, with a 12% market share. What do you ascribe to the success of WeBuyCars?
Yes, Philip. So it's actually a very good question and a very long topic, and I think the whole podcast can also just go about that. But I think they managed to do more than just one thing right. I think there was a couple of things that definitely happened and worked well for WeBuyCars. I think the very first one was the marketing message, and that was the message of We Buy Cars. So back in the early 2000s, you would see all dealerships were advertising that they are selling vehicles, and they get the stock and then they advertise a specific vehicle or the fact that there's the best prices on vehicles, and no one actually focused on getting the stock. Um, and now, if you look at it, WeBuyCars followed a little bit of or Van and Dirk at the stage, a blue ocean strategy. No one else was playing in that area, and they started focusing on getting the stock. And then they said you can focus on selling the stock, but to acquire the stock at the right price is the first. There's the opportunity. So therefore, they changed the name to We Buy Cars and essentially marketed themselves as a car buying service. They on sold the vehicles back again to dealerships in the beginning, and then later on started with the retail component of it as well. Today, we still sell vehicles to other motor dealers, and we've got a very big retail component, but now we've also grown the business into a strong financing arm. There's other products available around the vehicles, such as insurance and a tracker, and you can get tires fitted, and there's a whole new business built around this. But I think some of the elements that they did very well is the marketing message. They differentiated themselves from the rest. And that leaves another challenge for us now, because eventually people caught on and started copying your marketing message. And now the next challenge is to cut through that clutter. And then another big lever for them was appointing the right people, focusing on the culture, because that essentially is the best marketing that you can have as well. When you've got committed, motivated, friendly staff, that says a lot about your brand, and they realize that there's a fine link between the people and the brand. And I guess that's why I eventually got to take over the marketing portfolio, because I was already running the people portfolio. It just sort of made sense to run the brand as well. And then investing into technology and data at the right point in time for WeBuyCars as well. We went into an incredible digital transformation journey that started in the beginning of 2018, and we're 7 years down that line now, and that has a massive contribution to the growth of the company. And yes, people, systems, and marketing message is the core that this business was built on. Yes, there's hundreds of other elements, but those are the vital ones.
And I suppose that's a fundamental component, is that a lot of individuals still today that believe marketing is just a communication compartment or component. And it actually comprises the product, which you beautifully described, the place, the price, and the promotion. So you've eloquently talked us through the product side of things. I just want to touch base on your place as well. You have done something phenomenal from a place perspective, looking at your supermarkets, your pods, and your online and your website, which by itself is probably one of the biggest websites in South Africa. Can you just talk us through how you've approached place? Because for me, that is, in addition to price, something that really stands out and builds the brand.
Yes, no, definitely. So very good point on the website. We normally say website is actually our number one place, because if you look at our stats, most people only visit your website, and at a later stage they come to your branches. So we get about 10 million website visits a month, which is quite big, and 2.5 million unique visitors. If you think of how many people actually end up buying a used car in South Africa per month, it's massive. It's almost 15 times the whole market. So yes, the website is our is golden inventory for us. But then on the back of that, where we differentiate ourselves from another online platform, is that we physically own the stock, and people can visit our branches. So we have branches in all the big metros. We have got about 17 branches at this stage, and planning to grow it to 20 quite soon. As you saw in our last integrated reports, with plans of opening another branch in Lansdowne, Ottery area in Cape Town. Vereniging is opening now, hopefully in the beginning of August. And then to the latter part of the year, we're also opening a Montana one, which is in the north of Pretoria. So that is vital in our strategy as well, to be in a place that is conveniently located for the consumer. Because people would buy a car in another place if it's far to drive. So we've saw that in our East London operation, for example, is doing extremely well, but it's an area it's just too far from PE. It's far from anywhere else. You can't go through to Cape Town. George is far, so it's really a location that makes sense, and that we can serve the community in that area as well. And that's why we're planning to open across South Africa, and we've opened some nice locations recently, like a Rustenburg that's doing very well, East London that I just spoke about, George. So all of those are doing fairly well, and we've seen that this model is working. On top of that strategy, when it comes to place, so essentially we a car buying service, and that's so that we can obtain the stock and sit with the stock and then go and advertise the stock to the market. So we've redesigned our whole buying pod and went into a whole buying pod strategy, where we have close to 100 pods at this stage, and they're located at malls all across South Africa. And the purpose of those pods is for the consumer to go and sell their vehicle. So we just thought that maybe someone doesn't want us to come to their house, or it's difficult to plan their day. So they would just rather, when they have time, drive to the closest mall. They're going in to do some shopping in any case, leave the car with us for evaluation, come back, we give them a price, sell it there, we pay for the Uber back home, and the deal is done. And it's convenient for the consumer. And that's extremely, extremely important. All of these elements can't live in isolation. That's the point, yeah.
I think the key thing is, at least from my perspective, your positioning is all about the ease and the simplicity of buying a car, and the process of buying and selling. And that really comes through the consistency of your website, the pods, and the supermarkets. So one of the other questions that I have is, your supermarkets and your pods also serve as mental availability. So when people are in shopping markets, they can actually see WeBuyCars, and when later they decide to use it, they actually go into your website. Have you found that that is a distinctive advantage to you in terms of physical or mental availability?
Yes, so definitely, and the advantage for us specifically is that the person is in the car when he drives past of one of those facilities. So it essentially acts as another billboard for We Buy Cars, and it just pushes the consumer over the edge and say, listen here, there's a buying pod just there, or a warehouse just there. It's very convenient for me to just pop in, and the convenience for the customer at the end of the day is when they walk into one of our branches, there's like multiple options of one specific vehicle available. For instance, our Dome branch at this stage has an excess of 1,900 vehicles in stock. So that's quite a large variety. The typical dealer floor is about 30 vehicles. So for you to drive to the Dome, you're actually visiting a lot more, or lots of dealerships at the same time, just because of the stock variety that we've got on our floor. So yes, definitely.
So that definitely differentiates you and makes you distinctive from your competition. A question that I have for you is with regard to price, I suppose, next one of the P's. With literally millions of data points and hundreds of thousands of cars, probably millions of cars sold, you are uniquely positioned to know exactly how much a particular car is worth and what you can sell it for. And then you've also got economies of scale. So from a pricing perspective, you've got, again, another advantage. Can you just talk us through your pricing, and does marketing have a seat at the table when it comes to pricing and discussing pricing from a marketing perspective?
Yes. So Philip, luckily the marketing team's not involved in pricing because it is very complex, and we've got a dedicated team that looks after that. But and it's very difficult because there is so many different makes and models and variants of different cars that you need absolute specialists and lots of data and lots of good data to tell you exactly in the past how long did this specific car stand on the floor, what was the profit achieved with this, is it available, can you finance it. So it's so many elements that you can't do anything else than using data to drive the decision making. I think the only involvement that marketing has with pricing is the fact that we know that we want to be the cheapest in the market. We want to make sure that the consumer is not finding anything else. And based on our data, the specialized team then goes out and makes sure that we offer the correct price for the vehicle, and then another team makes sure that we ask the correct price for that vehicle as well. It's no secret that We Buy Cars is a high volume, small margin business. We're not making the margin that some of the other dealerships are making, but we are doing it through doing big volumes, and then also have other income streams in the business as well, such as financing or tracking or insurance or any of those products that I spoke about earlier.
Thanks, Rikus. So that takes us through product, price, and place. The next question is with regard to the promotion side of things. And I suppose starting off with the promotion is diagnosis, strategy, and tactics. Maybe you can give us a view from your own perspective. how important is to understand your customer and really know what they want, so that you provide them with a uniquely different or distinctive product?
Yes, yes, definitely. Yeah, that's a very good question, and in the sort of we buy cars world, it's a little bit more technical. So we have the philosophy that we're serving the entire vehicle park. So we believe that there's a market for every single vehicle if you price it right. If you make the customer aware of this product, you'll find it. So we know sort of what the customer needs by putting the structure into place, that we say we'll give them multiple finance options. We don't want to force them into one. They've got a choice whether they go with the um, insurance partner that we've got, or doing their own insurance. And we give them the availability of a tracker because it's convenient. So we add on to those. But when it comes to nitpicking out stock and having the stock available that the customers or that is in huge demand, and to focus your whole business model on that is a little bit dangerous. So we taking a much more bigger picture, stepping back and say, okay, but let's give the customer the variety uh, and all these options and all these ways in which they want to buy the car. Some customers actually want to buy it on online auction. Some customers wants to buy it through finance. Some customers want to buy it cash. Some customers actually want to do an unsecured loan through Capitec, which is one of our partners. So there's a couple of things that we put in place so that we can tailor-made make each and every customer's needs specifically for them. Uh, Not all deals look exactly the same when it comes to buying a car from We Buy Cars.
It looks like you got a solid strategy in place and know exactly what you need to do from that perspective. So perhaps from a marketing perspective, how do you see, or what elements do you see in a good marketing strategy?
Yeah, so in our world, and I think we had the conversation before the podcast as well when you visited our offices, is that you, you actually have to focus on, if you want to win over the customer and the board, um, you're halfway there, because we talk about effectiveness marketing is our efforts. We want to see it resulting into website visits. Those website visits must result into leads. Those leads must result into sales and buys from our side. So it's definitely about how effective you can design your marketing process. I think in our world, Fawn and Dirk back in the day, who's the two founders, we're very fortunate that they physically went out to buy the cars, and they advertised their numbers in the newspapers, and everyone remembers the billboards with the cash and so forth, and they could see the amount of times that their phone were ringing when they did different marketing initiatives. So we sort of over time managed to design a marketing model for We Buy Cars, and we constantly have to tweak it. But there's elements that works very well for us. So, for instance, billboards and radio. Most consumers listen to radio when they in a vehicle. Billboards um, they see while they're driving in the vehicle, so they're physically thinking about the thing they want to sell or buy a new one of. So you just have to be there and remind them that it's so quick and easy. Just give us a chance. We'll make your dreams come true. And then to supplement that strategy with important elements, the day and age that we live in, with digital, you have to have a very, very strong digital presence. But you can't have a digital presence living in isolation without doing some upper funnel or above the line marketing to make the consumer aware that this is the place to start looking, or this is the place that's going to assist me. Go and find out more when it comes. So the awareness is vital, and then the time and effort and amount of money that we spend on the below the market stuff is also very, very important, because then you start nurturing that lead and making sure that you give a high quality lead to your salesperson, and don't waste the customer's time, because you could have answered questions that he had maybe in an easier way, or B, waste the salesperson's time because he now sits answers questions with the customer that you could have answered by a simple thing like having a better user experience on your website, or having we have a chatbot, AI chatbot called Orange on our website now that answers lots of questions for customers, and we really see the uptick there where people go onto our website, play with that AI tool, and it guides them into by making a better purchase. When they come to the branch, they already have a much clearer view on what their needs is, and what vehicle they want to buy, and the salesman just has to guide them then, and then take them through the process. Yes.
The market is so fragmented today. There's so many different channels that you can go from, and you're looking at broad reach. How do you ensure that you get the broadest reach possible? And then do you still do targeting to get other people down in the funnel?
Yes, yes. So, Philip, yeah, that's so our essential marketing strategy is to be top of mind. So that's why we would go all out and be on numerous different platforms, but definitely then we will do targeted marketing for people. We'll specifically target people that is in the market for buying or selling a vehicle. People that was on our website before, we'll retarget them. When we open in a new area, we will target them with both traditional and paid for media by making them aware that we're now in the area, and then on Facebook or Instagram or some of those platforms as well, just advertise some vehicles, advertise the fact that put a banner up, we're opening up soon in this area. So then we regionally target people, and as soon as someone was in our warehouse and sort of did research about the car and did their test drive, we would also keep on communicating with that customer, because that's essentially your hotter lead. So we have to have a nice blend of this fishnet marketing, and then once they in the fishnet, you also have to directly target those customers, because certain customers you have to make aware of other types of product just based on the type of car that they're looking at. Someone might need a older or more experienced vehicle, and then but for their needs we have to then say, listen here, this car doesn't necessarily qualify for finance, so you'll have to buy it either cash or with an unsecured loan. And then the person knows, okay, but this is my journey going forward. We can do something like on WhatsApp, send him a video with the benefits of a category B versus category A vehicle. What is the different inspection ratings on these vehicles, and so forth, to help educate that customer. And that essentially also serves as a marketing tool, because they feel empowered with the information that you're giving them.
Your above the line campaigns or your above and top of the funnel campaigns make use of a significant amount of humor. And that seems to be coming for the last 5-7 years. So it's really consistent. Is that key to your marketing strategy? Is it a company culture? How did you incorporate humor? And it seems to be working for you, but if you can just talk us through that.
Yes, I think we're a proudly South African brand, Philip, and it speaks to our company culture. It speaks to who we are. It fits in, and at the end of the day, it's marketing department's job to go and show all the consumers out there what we actually are and what we're standing for. So to manage the perception of the public about your brand. And I think that is a good way that we found that we can use humor. We don't always just use humor, but when it's fit, we know South African likes a good laugh, and we try to keep that up and try to get it through. And people also tend to send it on, and these humorous things go viral much quicker. And then you also top of mind for the consumer because they now have seen
Yes.
5 or 10 funny ads from We Buy Cars. So it's just another competitive advantage. It's some element that we chosen that is true to us that we incorporated to be even more top of mind for the consumer.
So then on that question is, in a world where marketing is made to be disposable, or a lot of the marketing or the advertising is made to be disposable, a lot of your adverts are very consistent, and your brand application, is that a deliberate strategy, and why do you use that approach?
Yeah, so the approach that we actually use is a omni-channel marketing strategy. So the fact that you say it's consistent actually makes me glad because then it sort of works. So we don't want to bombard the consumer with a bunch of conflicting messages on different platforms. So it's important to get the same undertone through. We spoke about the upper funnel things previously to make sure that the upper funnel messaging is consistent and people constantly realize that on the buying side, A, we buy cars, it's very easy, it's convenient, it's quick, the money's in your bank. Um, you get a good price. B, when it comes to the selling side, there's lots of options available, competitive pricing, uh, numerous other benefits into coming and buying a car from us. So we'll essentially always have the same undertone in all our marketing messages because it looks like a very simple business from the outside, but it is complex from a brand perspective already to have so
Yes.
many elements in your business that you're advertising. Just the split between buying and selling vehicles is it's a difficult one to to manage because if you look at someone that sells new vehicles, they don't actually advertise the procurement process. They just advertise on the selling side. Now we already have two marketing messages there. When it comes to us buying the vehicle from the consumer, you can either buy it at a warehouse, you can sell it at our warehouse, sell it at our buying pod, and maybe sell it at your home or at your office, or we come to you. So that's already another three messages. Then when the selling side, you can buy it on auction, you can buy it cash, you can buy it finance, you can add product. So there's also lots more messages. And we try to keep it simple and cut through the clutter and send people to our website where they can do proper research on what they want and then take it from there.
You do a lot of marketing, and you talked about the success and the measurement. So I just want to have a look at measurement metrics because everything is being measured these days. Which marketing metrics are most important for you in managing your brand?
Yeah, so I think managing our brand, you have to look at a couple of metrics holistically. You have to look at what did you spend per vehicle sold and per vehicle bought. It's a very very important metric. If that goes up and down, it shows you that you're either wasting somewhere, or competitors is upping their campaigns, or there's a bunch of other things that you can look at then. So your cost per vehicle sold and cost per lead is something that you have to keep a close eye on. And then just how in our world how your website visits increase, your buy leads increase, is there increase with the increased spend, and then eventually the effectiveness of your marketing, is there um, is the closure rate on the leads, is it the exact same quality that you're giving your buying and your sales teams? Are you supplying them with good quality leads? So to measure the quality of your efforts is vital. And I spoke about that effectiveness equation earlier, that you have to
Yes.
prove to a board that what you're doing, the money that you're investing, is actually investment into the company because you are reaching consumers and you are telling them about We Buy Cars. And yes, you're right. Sometimes there is a small element of your marketing budget that you have to put into a pure brand exercise just for people to feel a little bit different about your brand and not necessarily have a hard selling message, because people also don't, consumers don't like just getting fed hard selling messages.
Absolutely.
You have to connect with your consumer at the end of the day. And we try to do that as well and connect with the consumer. And that's why we keep the brand fun and light as well, because sometimes you're even lucky and you can get a sales or buying message into that fun and light-hearted message as well.
So it sounds like your metrics essentially filter through to your profitability and revenue at the end of the day. And that's all linked because that gives you your effectiveness.
Yes, definitely. Very, very important. The marketing is just as responsible for profit as any one of the other departments.
So then here's the next question for you is which marketing metrics are oversold and why? Today as a marketer, there are over 200 metrics that marketers can measure. So it comes down to the fundamental ones, but there is this proliferation of marketing metrics. And I just want to get from your perspective, which ones are maybe oversold and why do they potentially not measure up?
Oh, okay. That's a very difficult question. I just try and avoid those. I just focus on the ones that work for me and that answers um, the board stuff questions. So I haven't given that a lot of thought, but there is a couple that comes to mind. I think today you can't just look at any metric in isolation. You can't just look at an increase in sales leads, for instance, in isolation, with actually calculating your return on investment as well. So I think that is the mistake that people make, is they say our website visits go up. People spend more time on our website. So you don't actually want the consumer to spend more time on your website, because then it means he's not finding what he's looking for quick enough. So there's a couple of those that come in mind. And I think if I had to answer your question, it's definitely the fact that people might look at stats in isolation without context of the broader picture. And it's very important as well to incorporate the metrics of other departments into your metrics, to make sure that you align with business.
Right.
And I think that's one of the biggest flaws as well, is people look at marketing metrics and without looking at business metrics.
So it's a question of triangulating from different metrics to get a true story and not just looking at it through a siloed view.
Yes, exactly.
There are a lot of things out there to say brand is dead, marketing dead, SEO is dead, etc. Is brand still relevant for you in this day and age?
Yes, no, it's definitely, and I think the consumer has evolved over time. I think we're sitting with a consumer that is much more is cleverer than in the past. They're more informed. They're well informed, and technology makes it so easy for companies to catch up to each other and to be close to each other in their product and service and so forth these days, that the only place where you can really differentiate yourself is brand, is being that trusted brand, and that's something that would definitely not die soon. We get imitated a lot, as I mentioned earlier, and there's other brands coming up and trying to do something similar to us, and I haven't tried some of those, but obviously they can put a product that's not bad, but because we are trusted and we have done this many times, yes, we've got other learnings as well operationally that makes us more quick and efficient, but still the consumer has options in shopping around and getting more quotes on their cars, but they would, because of your strong brand position, they'll rather go with you. And we've seen that in consumer studies as well, that clients go with the brands that they trust.
Research suggests that wear out takes a lot longer than most marketers believe. So again, we talked about disposable earlier, and it's a question of testing different creatives, but then just discarding those and starting again. How do you feel, and do you utilize your creative over and over again? I suppose one of the advantages is if you stick with the same creative and you actually develop your creative for longevity, you can use it for a much longer time and therefore get much better returns out of it. I just want to get your view on that.
Yes, Philip. So we do a lot of A/B testing and research on this specific topic. So in some places it is, you actually also have to do a little bit of a ROI calc on it. So, for instance, changing your digital billboards creative, we could see that if you've played a certain message for a long time, the consumer sort of gets used to it and so forth because it's digital. The fact that it's digital, also you share that billboard with 12 other brands. So you sort of then start not being realized anymore, and it's motion. So then we change up that, and we measure the metrics. What is the specific website visits or lead counts look like in that specific area? Is there a change? Is there not a change? On social media, it's so easy to refresh. On Google, it's easy to refresh these days, and it's something that you should get a fine balance. You shouldn't refresh every single day because that's also confusing for the consumer. But you should not wait too long on your digital platforms. I think the studies that we found with the billboards is the normal static billboards, for instance, is effective for us, and changing the creative. More often doesn't necessarily result in bigger awareness because it's there. But then again, looking at other elements, it's not as easy as saying don't change your design. You have to find designs that actually work. So the colors that you choose, the message that you put on, the pictures, where the person's eyes track to when they actually see that billboard, those ones are important. So not putting too much detail on a billboard. If you've got a short marketing message and with a logo or something that and the billboard remains clean and not dilapidated and doesn't look like it's going to tear off at any time, it looks fresh and neat and clean, and you've got a short marketing message with a logo, those ones tend to last much longer and just be as effective. So yes, it's really a study where you have to take each and every one of the places where you market and advertise and make sure that people notice your brand.
Okay, so it looks like you are going into a lot of the science of marketing. So not just a question of some of the things that have happened in the past, but you're referring to attention economics. So making sure that people not only see your billboard that are or your online advertising, but actually take notice of it and get the time to process and ingest the message. How do you measure that, or if you do measure that?
Yeah, so it's something that we've measured in the past by putting up two similar billboards with two similar messaging, or one a little bit longer messaging, and then it's a recipe that we found and a philosophy that we adopted over the last couple of years to try and incorporate that into our business. I think we saw it with the era of digital billboards, the beginning of digital billboards. We felt like it's not as effective, and then we actually realized that, listen here, the mistakes not with the digital billboard company, they're actually the mistakes with us. So let's go and re-look those designs and see what appeals to the consumer, because typically when the highway is not standing and it's flowing, you drive 120 kilometers per hour past that billboard, you can't make too complex of a message, and it becomes a science. It becomes something that you have to constantly test and so forth. There's nice other technology like eye tracking and all of these things that you can also incorporate and use to see where does it attract attention and so forth. And some of the billboard companies also give you sort of stats of what the amount of people is passing that billboard and so forth. And you can use those data points along with the data points of where people access your website and so forth, and to assume that there's a reasonably good chance that they pass your billboard when they thought of you and eventually ended up on your website. There's a couple of nice things that you definitely can do Another one, for instance, is that we do is on radio. When we go and inspect the consumer's vehicle, we just mark which radio station was the car on. Um, and
Clever.
that gives vital information back to us and say that, listen here, we're spending this with this radio station, this with that radio station. These are the cars that stand out. Maybe we spend X at a radio station, but we never evaluate the vehicle that is on that radio station. So yes.
It's a fascinating way of looking at it. It's actually getting inside information in terms of which radio station to advertise. So it's a question of test and learn and finding out what works and just basically iterating from there. So to conclude, Rikus, I just want to ask you if you could give South African marketers advice, or if you could change anything in South African marketing, what would the advice be and what would you change?
Yes, I think it is finding the balance between building a unbelievable brand and having effective marketing, solving that effectiveness equation. Not doing marketing for the sake of doing marketing. You must test and learn, look at stats, look at data, find tools to assist you to make better decisions. I think some companies has done that exceptionally well in South Africa. So I'm not even referring to WeBuyCars. It's just my general observation. If you look at what some of the big brands has managed to do in South Africa, it's unbelievable. And I think we've got lots of strong entrepreneurs and strong business people and lots of potential in South Africa, but it's really about looking at your marketing message and seeing how and measuring how effective you are with communicating that to the consumer. And if you can solve that, the company would make sure that the marketing team is at the forefront of the business, and that's vital.
That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Rikus. If somebody wants to find out more or wants to follow you, how do they get in touch?
So, me personally, so yes, welcome to reach out via LinkedIn or email. My email is on there, and I'm more than happy to share further insights with anyone that has questions.
Excellent. Cheers, Rikus. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone,
Philip.
for listening to Multiplicative Marketing. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. Please send me, I've just got one request. Please send me a direct message on LinkedIn. Let me know who you'd like to see on the show. And then please leave a review on the platform. Whichever platform you're on, either like, share to everybody that is interested in marketing or you believe will learn from this. And then one last thing, remember to keep on learning, keep on growing. Until next time, thank you.